Here is a brief agenda for today. We'll start by a short introduction. And then, of course, the beef of the session is to have a demo of the Polarion, and that will be taken with 5 key capabilities and some use cases afterwards, and then the question and answers session. Very brief introduction to me. I'm Pasi Ahola. I'm the CEO and founder of Typework Consulting since more than 10 years now. My background is in engineering from Helsinki University of Technology. Now I'm living in Tampere, Western Finland, with my family. And about my professional career, I've really spent my whole career in product and software development positions, project management, quality and leadership. Here are some employers that I've worked with, and during my time with these companies and also at Taipuva, I've advised a huge number of companies, mainly who have operations in the Nordic countries. And although I'm running the whole company of our team of 17 people right now, my passion is still to improve ways of working and to work with customers and get my hands dirty on real problems and solve them. To lay down the kind of the context for today, here's a picture about the kind of the main areas that we'll talk about today. So I think one main area will be product development. However, everybody is not developing products as such, but there can be also project-based deliveries for large investment projects or other critical projects, and they are also in scope. And and the kind of the interface towards the business and the customers or users who are setting requirements for those projects and deliveries. And and there's another picture of that highlights the areas in a slightly different way. Saying that the kind of the core area would be getting the product or project essence in place and implementing that with systems engineering approach, taking different disciplines into account, supplier collaboration, quality assurance, risk management, etc. So these are kind of the key words for today. And the point is really to prevent this kind of a situation by having a single source of truth with a digital platform. What is famous Polarion then? It consists of 3 main pillars or core values: collaboration, traceability, and reuse. And the unified platform really enables this kind of integrating these areas together. And when we look at the different process areas that Polarion enables, you can see some of the areas that we'll talk about today: requirements management, test management, project management, quality management, risk management, etc. Collaboration, traceability, and reuse are in the focus here. In other words, Polarion makes it really possible to combine these kinds of 2 worlds, sort of a structured or systematic approach, systems engineering based, and the fast cycles of agile development or responding to changes really quickly. So why should anyone care about this? When we think of the high-level benefits of Polarion and what we are doing, it really comes down to these 4 things that you can study here. And it's really about being more efficient, being able to motivate your experts to work better, more efficient, more effective, and to avoid manual things or that kind of hindrances. This slide gives you an overview of our customers who are using Polarion. They vary from really global players to small companies, mid-sized companies, and even startups. And one important thing to notice is that they are in different industries. This highlights the expertise that we have and also Polarion's scalability and flexibility that is possible to use it in these different industries and different businesses. When we think of what Taipuva does, this is a very short introduction to what we are doing, and we are seen as a smart expert for Polarion. And we many times start to talk about vision and enablement sort of things with companies, and we like to see ourselves as a catalyst for improvement. So defining business needs and goals for improvement, and taking that a step further to digitalization strategy and road mapping to what to really to do, for example, in collaboration with us. When we get a bit more concrete, we talk about processes and competence, so enabling sort of people to be aware of how to apply digitalization and to your specific needs, culture, and legacy. There are, of course, many times there are legacy tools in place, culture, etc. So one important thing is that the ways of working need to be adapted to those. And from us, we provide process insight and training and workshops to enable this part. When getting in even more concrete, making it real, Polarion platform comes into play in many cases. So we provide best practices and advising how to do things, training and onboarding for Polarion, and really also putting things to shine in the real life Polarion, meaning also technical implementations, that sort of thing. And if someone needs help with the Polarion infrastructure and support, of course, we provide the product support for our customers, but we also provide hosting, Polarion Cloud, doing updates, optimization for the application, etc. And here's one customer case of our long-time customer Sandvik that you can see more concretely what kind of outcome the work and Polarion has. So this is really a case of team collaboration across different processes. You can see the different process areas in this picture here. And it's really, in their case, they're really cleverly combining a structured systems engineering approach and agile development. As you can see, they're doing Scrum here. And the structured approach very effectively enables this kind of reusing product content, features, and test cases for their different machine configurations, which are based on the sort of common assets for the platform. So they can really quickly start new product developments with this kind of setup, reusing the set of features and test cases with their links and everything to different products. And this setup enables the effective tracing from test management to features, which of course speeds up collaboration. So the test engineers always know what they can test and report their results against the features and the implementation. Another example of a slightly smaller company is an Airsotnet, our very recent customer, and I'm really proud to have this this kind of a statement from them. I'm really happy about this, that we've been able to help them with our expertise in Polarion. So this is a medical device company, and the additional value that we at Polarion provide in this case is really creating an environment where efficient product and software development can take place in strict regulations, like the design controls, as you can see the famous FDA graph here about the design controls. So the kind of the benefit of Polarion for the regulated industries, this slide sort of tries to summarize that really quickly. Yeah, that kind of introduction, quick introduction, brings us towards the actual demo. A bit of a word of a warning that the demo might look like this, because we are looking at different features and different overview capabilities of Polarion. Whereas when organizations are using Polarion for certain processes, and Polarion has been configured for those and their specific use, it looks much clearer and more streamlined. So don't be afraid if you get a bit confused, because we're covering a lot of things in a very short time. And but anyway, the point of this webinar is to get an overview. So let's do that. So I'm doing this overview with introducing 5 different key capabilities of Polarion, and let's start with a so-called work item. So jumping to my Polarion instance, and this is a web-based software. I've already logged in, and you can now see here a screen of the our insulin pump demo project. So in Polarion terms, we're talking about projects. Let's zoom in a little. Few words about the user interface. Here on the left-hand side, there's a navigation pane that always is available there, and it's very easy and clear way of seeing where we are. So now we are in this project, in the home page, and there are a bunch of different things here, some shortcuts here, and then we can see 4 of the basic capabilities. So we can see work items here, documents that we'll talk about later, test management, test runs, and plans. So let's go to work items then. And when I'm actually, let's use this shortcut to clean it up a bit. Work items in Polarion are really key building blocks to make the processes and content in this tool. Let's open this to reveal that work items can be of different types, and I need to emphasize that this is an example. Polarion is really super fast and easy to configure for different purposes. So what you see here is not carved in stone, but it's merely an example of what you can do. And if we look at for example, work items of type user need, well, there's one selected here in the list, and the data of the work item is reflected here on the lower part of the screen. And it's really, work item is really a database object, which has some basic information, data fields. It has a unique ID, title, and then a bunch of different fields that can be customized. And usually one key element is description, which is the content of the work item. It can contain text, pictures, tables, references or hyperlinks, that sort of stuff. And the point is that these work items are really different based on for what they are being used. So this is a user need. Let's take another example of a software story, for example. So we have two stories here in the database right now. And if we look at the form, we see that, well, there are more fields here. There's story points here. There's a field called planned in. There's a definition of done, which can be used to check off the different things when done with the software story, etc. And if we look at another case, test case, it's really contains sort of, in this case, a manual test protocol to carry out the quality assurance activities. So these are basic capabilities of work item. Then one important thing is that for each and every work item, we can configure a workflow, and it's configured or be controlled here or used with the status field. So we can put this work item to different statuses, and not only to indicate in which status the work item is and what's happening to that, but there's a lot of control that can take place with the workflow. So if we take a look at this picture here, we see a schematic of one possible workflow, and for each status transition is possible to relate functions and conditions, and that in turn means that we can build sort of more versatile processes when we combine these workflows of different work items. Because what I didn't mention still is that work items can be linked to each other. So, for example, in this case, we see that this test case has another item here, which is a product requirement that this test case has been linked to. And we can move in this link structure just by clicking these different things. So now we are at a user need, which is really refined by this product requirement, and then product requirement is verified by this test case. And if we look at let's say the information structure that is here in this particular project, well, this might seem like a bit complex at this point, but the aim is to demonstrate or show that the links and their different meanings really build up the information model in Polarion. So in this project, we have a situation with multiple disciplines for product development. We have product requirements here in the middle. We have hardware and electronic requirements, mechanical requirements, software requirements, and even this kind of structure to manage the functionalities or features of software, to manage their work management with stories, etc. And the product requirements really are refined from user needs and regulatory requirements in this case. And in addition, there's the already mentioned test case here, which can be used for different test or quality assurance activities, validating these high-level requirements and verifying the product and software requirements, etc. And then there can be defects that are triggered because some test cases usually fail. So to manage the issues and the problem fixing. And then another area is here risk management, which is now in this example case tackled with two different work item types, which are quite similar to each other in terms of at least the relations to other work item types, cybersecurity risk and safety hazard. And if we think of the Polarion information structure as such, and if we, let's say, reveal everything that is here in this project in the sort of tree structure, let's expand that a few levels down. We see that the tree view shows the relationships and links between the different work items. So let's load them all to browse quicker. So we can see that there's a lot of information already here, although this is a small project, and there are a lot of relations going on with the different work items. Right. So one point that Polarion is really cleverly able to do is it's able to show these relationships in a tree view in a clear way across different process areas, but it's also possible to filter different parts of the information model. For example, if we want to look at requirements and product content only, so this sort of structure, we can really quickly filter that here, selecting the different semantic roles between work items, and voila, we have now the sort of the requirement tree, which is, if we start by from the user needs, for example, as a root node, we get a structure that is much more easier to understand. So we don't need to think of the different relations and dimensions at the same time. Vice versa, we can look at the, for example, the requirements and different product content relations to verification validation, like this, or risk management, or something like that. So that comes much more clear. What else about the work items? Well, I think the kind of the main points were there, and yeah, just to conclude the topic by saying that when we're combining the workflows of different work item types, for example, in some quality management processes, or even in this kind of product development, we might need to for example, for the cybersecurity risk or safety hazard to be completed or closed, we might need to make sure that the mitigating actions or mitigating requirements have been defined and approved before we can actually close the workflow for the safety hazard to be completed. And the workflow also enables, for example, in this case, it makes sure that the proper information is in place in different statuses or different phases of the workflow, and it also makes sure that certain fields or certain data is frozen, so preventing accidental editing of the data. Right, so that was about work items. So let's go to another topic, which is a bit more, let's say, versatile or unique to Polarion, live document. And I really need to emphasize that this is a very, very special feature in Polarion. You can find this kind of functionality in other tools. And the key principle is highlighted here, that we have documents that are looking like ordinary documents, but sections of these are actually work items. So the work items that we saw earlier are actually embedded inside these documents. I will show that shortly. But the kind of the value that capability has is that we can have traditional documents and really complete specifications or other documents. So first of all, we don't need additional document management for that, and it enables this kind of traceability between the actual content part of the documents. So, for example, if we have this case that the business analyst changes a requirement, and we have the links in place between the work items in these different documents, we get to see the impact trace and the so-called suspect links to propagate the change, to make sure that the impacted parts of the different documents are updated accordingly. So it makes this kind of tracking really easy and foolproof, and also the traceability that this feature enables is a key value for many regulated areas, and also increases the efficiency of the collaboration between the different actors. So let's take a look at some of the live docs for real. So I'm opening one of them here, project documentation. So now I'm here in this content part, documents and pages. So let's, for example, open this product requirement specification, and let's take that in document format. Close the filter to have a view. So this is the live doc, and like I said earlier, some parts of the document are these work items. And I'm just making sure that the document is, the document also has a workflow, as you can see. So let's now put this to new version draft, so I'm able to edit that, to just highlight that adding these work items here in the document is really easy. For example, if you already have some content, it's easy to just mark parts of the document and have a title for this, like this. And when I press save for the document or Control S, then this work item is recorded into the system, and it receives unique ID and all the different capabilities of Polarion. So now if you open this work item in a separate view, or this database view, we see that, okay, all the meta information is there for the work item in the database. You are able to link it, etc., but it's still at the same time it's in the document. And if I'm to edit this here in this view, of course, the whole document is reflected, and the work item content itself is of course changed, and vice versa. If I change it here, like this, and save it, and go back to the document, of course it's changed here in this. That's the kind of the point of the live capability of the document. So this document only contains textual information. Of course, you can have pictures and tables and everything here. And also there is a interesting capability here that we can embed some of the live reporting capabilities of Polarion inside the live document. For example, a live traceability table here within the document, which shows the links from to the items in this document to other parts of the system. Let's just actually look at the, for example, document. Yeah, we see that there's a diagram. There's a diagram editor in Polarion, so you can build these graphs really easy. A very dummy change, but you get the point. And this document, by the way, looks a bit different. So it has actually two types of items in this document. So here are software features, so the functionalities of software, and for each and every one of those, there are the actual really hard requirements for that feature. And we can also see that the items are intended here in the document, which means that they are linked within the document. So, for example, if we want to look at the relationships in a preview for this document, we see that there really are links between these work items in the database as well. Yeah. So there are many features of this live document, and I will not show all of them. Perhaps one more thing is the history, which is very effective. So every time when we make a change into the document, a change is recorded, and of course, if the change is in the work item part, the work item history is changed at the same time. So, for example, if you go to the previous example, product requirement specification, with this dummy example of mine, so we can see that there are really changes that have taken place during this demo. And then if we go and see the actual work item history, we can see the same changes there in the work item history as well. So here's the history button, and yeah, there are changes here. So that was a very brief overview of the live document concept. There are a lot of different features. Well, we looked at the diagram editor, embedded reports and scripts. There's a review and approval facilitation, so it's very easy to approve and comment on the different parts of the document, meaning the work items, and even to combine the workflow with electronic signature. PDF export is there, and you can filter the document and then export it, for example, to hide draft items or something. And of course, importing from Word, Excel formats, and even RecIF format is supported. There's a round trip that you can work with a document in a Word format and then get the changes back to Polarion. And you can do the same for the work items in Excel, etc. So in our overview, let's go to test management part, which is one of the key areas we think of the collaboration in the context of product development, meaning that we have means to plan, execute, and really capture the validation and verifying requirements or other items. And one key point of the test cases or test capability in Polarion, by the way, they do not need to be test cases, they can be whatever. work items, and there can be multiple types of them in Polarion for which you can apply the test management capabilities. But the point is that the tests or quality assurance methods can be repeated many times for different product versions or different project deliveries, different phases of the project, etc. Test management process, in very briefly, contains these steps. We will not go through all of them. We shall look at the test execution very briefly, which means that when we have work items, now in this case we have test cases, they might be in live documents as test specifications, and then we use these test runs and the test management capabilities to select a subset of the test cases and then execute them and report results. And then the live report page on the test run page shows the results. So that means the test execution of test cases and having these test runs means that we can really repeat the execution of these tests multiple times and have different results will be according to the situation. And of course, all of the test cases don't need to be included in all the test runs. So it's always typically a subset of the tests. So let's take a look at that very briefly. So let's open the third topic here, test runs. And for this purpose, I already created verification 1 test run, and it receives this kind of test run page. And we see from this page that there are 4 test cases pre-selected into the test run to be executed, and that was the filter that was applied in the phase of creating the test run. However, we can always go and select some more test cases. For example, let's take some of them, some of those which are not approved yet. So let's for example take that one as well, save it. So now we have this, continue, and have 5 of them. And then executing the test cases, if that is a manual protocol, that can be done here in Polarion. So let's choose one of them that, yeah, this has a protocol, and start that. And so the test steps are defined in the test cases as we saw, and now our job is to report the actual results. So if we want or need to report something here, we can, but it's quite sufficient just to mark down the verdicts for the different test steps. Let's do all passed here real quick, and then say that the test case is passed. And then for the next one, let's for example do a one failure like thing. It failed, and if we now save that, that's a failed one, and we can go back to the home page of the test report or the test run and see the results real time. So there's no need to for additional reporting here, but this is here within the same tool. And we also see that when the test case was failed, we see the results here, and we see that a defect item was created automatically in our setup. So it's an option to do this by automation, and now this software defect can be then assigned for someone to taken care of in the defect management process. Okay, so and let's actually take a very quick report view of the test results reporting. Now this report shows all the test results based for the requirements that are in the scope of our report. And for example, for this requirement, we see that this test case has been executed multiple times in different test runs. So the report is really combining information from the requirements and the test cases and the results in order to arrive to this sort of conclusion of the whole thing. So the unified platform enables that because everything is taking place in the same platform. So let's go to the plans section, which means in our example case, this was the whole information model, but if we reduce this a bit and see what actually is planned. So in this case, example case, we are supposed to plan the product requirements to a roadmap plan, and then the different disciplines for version plans, and then we can use sprint plans for managing the work in the software domain. So let's see how that goes. For that purpose, there is already a very nice overview in the homepage of this project, which shows the kind of the real-time status of these different plans. So we have a plan for proto type 1, and we can actually see the same plans also here in the topic. So we can see the kind of the hierarchy of the different plans. So the prototype is here, and then we have the different plans to prepare the different disciplines for their first versions, and we can tweak the schedule here if we want, and really see kind of the hierarchy. For example, the cloud software sprint for week 11 is here, and it would be really easy to, for example, if we want to plan another one, we can just take another sprint for the sprint. Let's put that for 12, for example. To show you what the plan really is about, it is kind of a simple object in Polarion. It's just a time box that has start date and end date, and then it has content within. For example, in this sprint plan, we have been planning the user stories or the software stories, and then defects also for this sprint. And it's about really to having this content planned into this time box, and we can then see what happens for that in real time. And if we want to use Polarion for work management, that's of course possible as well. So we can put this, for example, to in progress, and let's say that, for example, this we will close that and say that, well, it will not be fixed at all. So this plan then reflects the real-time situation with that. Yeah, then let's have a very few words about live reports, which reside in the same space or the topic with the documents. So the pages are here, and by the way, it's totally free to configure these folders here within these documents and pages quite freely. So now we have just a report section for demo purposes here. Let's, for example, take a requirement traceability report from here, which has some parameters that you can choose, but let's not touch them right now. And this report is very important for getting an overview of the status of the content and the traceability in let's say project like this. So here on the left hand side we have user requirements, and then here we have different discipline requirements or product requirements here, which are linked to these. For example, this product requirement is linked to this user requirement, and then further down this mechanical requirement is linked to this product requirement. And by the way, I can tell the different types by the icons. So you can really quickly get used to the icons that you use, and then it's easy is the kind of the understanding the different information here. And here in this test case column, we have test cases for validating and verifying requirements. And for example, this test case here is verifying this product requirement, and for the last test run, it was reported as failed. And we can also, with one click, drill down to the actual test report and to see everything, all the information about the test run, and where, if that was a real case, probably the environment and equipment would be also documented here, and you can really also kind of close and sign off this kind of report for example, regulatory purposes. And yeah, there are of course plenty of different reports available and possible to do. For example, this kind of a defect report, and it's very useful to know that these reports are so-called wide reports, which can be built up from these different widgets. So, for example, adding a widget or a region below and having a let's say a chart, a trend chart. Where's the trend chart? Okay, find it right now. Well, let's use a pie diagram, and to have a very quick overview of different work items by their type in this project. It would be rather easy to do that kind of report. And as we have demo content here, of course we don't have real content, but the kind of the reports become more meaningful when there's real data in the background. So here are some examples of test management report, kind of a trend line for showing requirements, statuses, etc. So I think we are now a bit behind our schedule, so we will skip these use cases, at least for the demonstration point of view right now, and go to see some of the slides for kind of these additional use cases. Reuse is one of them. Very important capability in Polarion, as I pointed out. The structured approach makes it possible to use different mechanisms of reuse, and here are some mechanisms highlighted here on the right hand side. And one use case for reusing and also kind of the capability of Polarion to go back to history to see different stages of the actual information, how it was, is this kind of branching for parallel and simultaneous development. So in some cases you cannot avoid this kind of situation that you need, for example, to maintain an old version of the software or product. This nice animation shows some use cases for reuse. For example, you're reusing regulations here for different parts of the specifications. And then when we have some common content, for example, for a product platform, then it can be effectively reused for different projects or products using the live docs, and even you can, in some cases, create branches so that you can really choose which work items you pick up for different variants of your product. So very advanced scenarios and very effective things with this. So just to summarize how Polarion as a tool enables these kinds of advanced ways of working. I would say that one of the key elements is really a unified and structured approach, which comes down to these three main pillars, and really to be able to connect different teams seamlessly, having all the capabilities for regulatory compliance and some structures to manage changes, reflect changes, different versions, and to reuse content.